Well, that might end up being the longest 49ers practice of the year. And I'll tell you, that Brock Purdy to George Kittle connection is essentially automatic. Mac Jones said after practice that it was like watching Madden. That's how in sync Brock Purdy and George Kittle are. So this is the full practice report, but first we must begin with some more serious news. Our good friend Greg Papa, who is the play-by-play voice of the 49ers on the radio, has announced that he's been diagnosed with cancer. Greg released this statement through KMBR, saying in part that he's stepping away from his broadcasts but looks forward to returning soon. I texted with Greg earlier today. Over the past 6 years, he's become a great friend and mentor as we've both covered the 49ers. And I asked Greg if there was anything that he wanted to let the viewers know. And he sent me a picture of the tape that he's watching. The guy loves to watch tape. The guy loves to watch football. He's the most prepared broadcaster in the country. I'll stand by that. And he had a whiteboard up on the wall and he said, tell the fans that the only difference is that the whiteboard has a different type of game plan on it now, referring to the treatment that he's going to undergo for his cancer coming up. So Greg Papa, you are in our prayers. That news is at the top of our minds here as the 49ers wrap up practice on this Friday. All right, on to the practice itself. First look is at Alfred Collins. Robert Saleh said that Collins is behind the 8 ball because he missed OTAs, but he is confident that Alfred Collins, with that frame, you could see the size on that guy. He is very confident that he's going to acclimate to the NFL, figure things out. Speaking of size, different type of body, but Sebastian Valdez, number 55, undrafted free agent out of Washington, I think has looked pretty good here to start OTAs. Look who's back. That is Curtis Robinson, number 59. 10 months after he tore his ACL, Robinson, the linebacker, activated off the physically unable to perform list today. Then there is Upton Stout. Look at the size of those shoulder pads on the 49ers rookie DB. Upton Stout is a throwback. Robert Saleh says he plays a lot larger than his size. And right next to Upton Stout, that is Jake Lynch, John Lynch's son. Remember John used to be a QB? That was at Stanford before he switched to safety at the device of Bill Walsh. Well, his son throwing some passes at 49ers practice. He's on the 49ers staff starting this year. Brock Purdy was really, really good again today, and Mac Jones, as I mentioned, talked about it. Mac understands that playing quarterback is not easy in this league. I think he's looked solid at 49ers practice as well. But he definitely appreciates what Brock Purdy has been able to bring to the table. And today, I said this was the longest 49ers practice of the season. And they ended with a move the ball portion of practice that was the closest approximation to an actual game that we've seen so far. By move the ball, I mean that both the offense and the defense go to opposite sidelines. They don't just stand behind the line of scrimmage, and they don't just run play after play from the same yard line. They actually can pick up a first down. They actually face 2nd and 6, 3rd and 4. It's situational football. So move the ball got started, and Brock Purdy's first throw was an incompletion to Christian McCaffrey, who was very, very well guarded by Jason Pinnock, the free agent safety the 49ers picked up this offseason. But shortly after that, Brock Purdy just started carving downfield. And this was without a lot of his best receivers. Today, Jawan Jennings missed his 4th straight practice. They're saying it's a calf issue. Remember, Kyle Shanahan didn't really want to talk about it yesterday. He said there's no timetable on Jennings' return. Jordan Watkins, the rookie who's been impressing, also wasn't out there today. We didn't get to talk to Kyle Shanahan today, so no injury update on Jordan Watkins. So that means that with those two guys down, with Brandon Ayuk obviously not available, the 49ers are shorthanded in that receiver room. But Brock Purdy was still able to make it work in this move the ball period. He found George Kittle on a key 3rd down. He had also found George Kittle in red zone work earlier on 4th down. They're doing situational stuff down in the red zone. The 3rd down play didn't work for the 49ers. Then Purdy had to hurry up because the clock was ticking. They were running basically a 30-second drill in that red zone. And he found George Kittle with all the chips on the table for the 4th down. So he found Kittle in this move the ball session, and then he found Kyle Juszczyk. Beautiful rainbow throw to Kyle Juszczyk, who had snuck out of the backfield, and it was D. Winters that was trying to catch up to him. The throw had to be perfect, and it was to Juszczyk. So I was very, very impressed with how Purdy was able to orchestrate the offense, even in a situation where obviously they didn't have all their weapons available. A lot more stuff to non-traditional wide receiver types. In fact, I think I just read, CMC, Kyle Juszczyk, and George Kittle. None of those guys are receivers by trade, although we know that they are very, very adaptable players. Guys like Russell Gage and Ricky Pearsall are thrust into more and more of a spotlight with the current wide receiver situation. We knew that Pearsall was going to have to step up and be a number 2 for the 49ers this year, and today was his biggest workload at practice as they ease him into things, and I think he's running a really good route. We talked to Brock Purdy, and he said that Ricky Pearsall is really starting to deliver on some of the nuances that took a while to hone in on as a rookie last year. Sometimes it's a matter of 1 step or 2 steps different on a break that makes all the difference in the world, because the pass rush hits so much more quickly at the NFL level. Obviously, Pearsall finished the 2024 season on a hot streak, 14 catches, 210 yards over those final 2 games, and I really think that it's carrying over that rapport with Brock Purdy here into 2025. Pearsall, again, his busiest day of practice, caught a couple deep out patterns which really require good timing from the quarterback to the receiver, and good timing on the route from the receiver. He delivered on a couple of those deep out patterns at practice today, and that was before the move the ball period, where the 49ers really focused on Kittle, Juszczyk, and Christian McCaffrey. Let's go through absolutely everything that happened today, shall we? We've got the Organized Chaos Notebook Morgan Wallen concert is going to be happening behind us at Levi's Stadium today, so a lot of the country music fans are starting to trickle in. I think they're going to do 2 nights of this, Morgan Wallen. Big deal here. Levi's Stadium for the East Tennessee musician. But we got to talk about football right now. I talk about Purdy to Pearsall in the first play of practice. This wasn't a deep out. This was a seam route for a big gain. Then Purdy threw an interception. This one went to Jason Pinnock. Why don't we take a second to discuss the 49ers safety position, because that's what I wrote about up on the San Francisco Standard yesterday. I think that Pinnock is really, really angling to keep that safety job, like a starting job for the entire season. A lot of people scoffed at this initially because Pinnock hasn't exactly graded as a top-notch cover guy through his first 2 stops with the Jets and the Giants. The Jets cut him after that 1 season there in New York. That was back when Robert Saleh was the coach. But players develop, and Jason Pinnock has shown that he's got a very specific skill set that I think is rare for the safety position, because he started his NFL journey as a cornerback. And if you start as a corner, your coverage skills for a safety are probably pretty damn good. So he can come down from that safety position and man guys up in the slot, which is a really, really valuable tool to have in the tool bag. And look at what the 49ers did with Jimmy Ward back in the day. I still remember them shutting down that Rams offense in week 6 of the 2019 season with Cooper Kupp, a young Cooper Kupp in his 3rd year, just not being able to do anything against Jimmy Ward, who would come down from safety into the slot. So when you've got that adaptability at the safety position to come down and cover, place a man, you could run a lot more cover 1. Jason Pinnock said that he smiles whenever cover 1 is called, because it could take him back to his corner days, but he loves playing safety, and he can hit, and he's got the physical tools. I think this is a player who the 49ers saw in New York, and they said, this guy is matured, he's a veteran now. Wink Martindale, the former New York Giants defensive coordinator, used him on a lot of blitzes, and he had 6.5 sacks with the Giants, which led to him being one of the top graded pass rushers from the safety position. I think Robert Saleh saw a player who he was familiar with back when he was a rookie, and he saw a matured player, an evolved player, and he said, I think that Jason Pinnock, with the tremendous athleticism that he does have, I think he could plug in and take the next step in his career with this team. And I think that Robert Saleh might be right. Another interception for Pinnock today in practice was able to use some of that ball hawking ability that he was talking about the other day to pick off Brock Purdy, who otherwise was really, really good in this session. Carter Bradley got in on a team drill, only threw one pass, went to Marquez Callaway, who's the 49ers receiver signee from the other day, so it was like third or even fourth team action, you could say. Carter Bradley, son of Gus Bradley, is the 49ers' fourth quarterback on the roster. We'll see if he can earn his way into more reps as time goes on. Jake Tonjes had a drop. Upton Stout had a big pass breakup. And listening to Robert Saleh compliment Upton Stout was something. He said that Alfred Collins is behind the 8 ball because he missed OTAs with the calf injury, but he thinks that Alfred Collins is going to be fine. I have my thoughts on Alfred Collins. I think that so far we've seen that he's a very immovable force, but I haven't seen quite the explosiveness that I would want to see from him in pass rushing situations. And it's funny because we talk about him as a 3 technique, but right now he's showing more +1 technique traits, just like block gobbling traits, fire hydrant traits right in the middle, which would make him the largest fire hydrant in NFL history at 6'5 plus. The 49ers believe that pass rushing success and explosiveness off the ball will come as he gets used to the blocking styles and the change of speed at the NFL level. Obviously, missing the initial part of the offseason training program with the calf injury didn't help Alfred Collins. Nick Bosa has pointed out that the guy is playing in a different style than he did at college, so his aiming points are different. And when you're still having to think at the start about your aiming points, you're not going to get off the ball quite as quickly. So that's what Saleh meant by Collins being behind the 8 ball. He also said that CJ West is going to have a long NFL career because West is already playing so violently for the 49ers. His ability to push guys back really is special. Just wait, I'm going to talk about the one-on-ones in practice today in just a little bit. And CJ West was putting offensive linemen on skates yet again. Saleh then mentioned that Nick Martin, the linebacker, the one thing that is definitely not a problem with Nick Martin is his violence. You can't really teach the violence, right? Dre Greenlaw had that as well. Saleh very happy with the violence that Nick Martin has brought to the table, rookie out of Oklahoma State. He actually forced a fumble the other day. It was one of the strips that we saw, a little punch out, probably already taken some notes from Fred Warner. But back to Upton Stout, because Saleh had some lavish praise for the 49ers' third-round pick today, who had that big pass breakup, was talking about how he plays much bigger than his 5'8" height. You can tell that Saleh definitely was in on the endorsement of Upton Stout when the 49ers decided to draft him and Nick Martin in the 3rd round. Stout out of Western Kentucky. And I really think that even though that 3rd cornerback spot is wide open, I think that Stout's going to find a way to force himself onto the field playing in that slot position. The big shoulder pads, the throwback shoulder pads, just tell me that this guy is ready to be physical, ready to hit. He wants to throw his body into the fray. I know that he had that tremendously acrobatic, athletic pass breakup against Ricky Pearsall a couple days ago. That happened to be on the outside. That's great. That just adds to Upton Stout's versatility. But he's going to make his hay with the strength of his body, and I think that the fact he's shorter might even be an advantage. You're going to make his hay closer to the line of scrimmage. There's going to be times when opposing quarterbacks aren't going to see this guy, and he's going to cut off a running lane, or he could come in on a blitz. I think that Robert Saleh is going to have a whole lot of fun, and we've already seen some more creativity through defensive alignments from Robert Saleh. So I talked a lot about the situational football that the 49ers played today, move the ball and red zone. First drive, Christian McCaffrey, touchdown run on 4th and 1, made George Kittle extremely happy. It was a really, really nice day for George Kittle. Got to see the run game, I thought, succeed with several of its blocks today, and then obviously Kittle made some big catches. He was showing plenty of emotion out on that football field. The second team offense with Mac Jones in charge on that first drive failed to score, so the defense held at that point. Then we went to the move the ball session where it was interesting to me. Ben Barch, I mentioned yesterday, he came off of the NFI list and he started for the 49ers at that left guard position. The 49ers later in practice today also gave Nick Zakelj a chance at left guard. So they alternated first team reps at left guard between Barch and Zakelj. So that as Shanahan said, that's going to be a battle. I think that Barch has a definite leg up since he was already back in first team action his very first day back at practice. I think that's a significant deal for Ben Bartch. I think that he was the first up last year and then he got hurt, and I think that his play warranted the first look this season. But it's also worth mentioning that Nick Zakelj gave up only one pressure when it was his turn to fill in last season. Zakelj was really, really solid for the 49ers as a pass protector. I think that the run blocking has to get better, and I think that's where Ben Bartch has the edge, but I don't think that we should discount either of these players in that battle for the left guard position. Another guy who made a lot of catches today and is going to be relied upon a lot, and I know this is a little concerning for the first couple of weeks of the season, potentially, is Demarcus Robinson. I mean, Demarcus had the deep catch from Brock Purdy the day prior. He is just a very solidly built receiver. The 49ers said when they signed him and they first saw him, they're like, we almost forgot how big this guy is. And he's just a vet. He's been with a lot of teams. He's seen just consistency across the board wherever he's been. Hadn't been a superstar, but in a situation like this where the 49ers are shorthanded at that receiver position, I think Robinson, who's somebody who played the X for the Rams last year and played it successfully, a 500-yard season, career high, I think that's somebody who can really, really help San Francisco. Now, the reason that it could be concerning is that he might be suspended due to the DUI arrest and the fact he pleaded no contest, misdemeanor charge. He could be suspended for the start of the season. And that's where things get a little dicey for the 49ers at the receiver room, but that's also where you get encouraged by seeing how good Brock Purdy has been. I think he's fully healthy this year. That wasn't the case throughout all of last season. He's extremely accurate. He spoke to the media after today, and he's a father now, and congratulations again to the Purdy family. Congratulations to the McCaffrey family. Purdy and Christian McCaffrey said they talked like 2 years ago about each of them having kids who could watch them play at the NFL level. Now they both have daughters who are less than a month apart in age. But anyway, so much has gone right for Purdy, especially in the past few months, between the growth of his family and the contract, and I think the chance to fully heal up and be ready for this 2025 season. He looks like the franchise quarterback that he's paid to be. The decisions that he's making out on that practice field, we watch it in the move the ball session, it looks like he is in complete command of the proceedings, and he's able to deliver even when the 49ers don't have their full explosive receiving arsenal out there. And he's doing that through resourcefulness. There was a nice little pop pass today to Demarcus Robinson to gain some yardage for the 49ers. He's doing that with discipline, and I think he's doing that because he has melded himself into Shanahan's scheme. He is exactly who Kyle Shanahan wants at that receiver position. That's why somebody like Mac Jones said that it's like watching Madden. It's like watching a video game with how well Purdy is playing right now. Mac Jones also said today, he's a funny guy. They say he's hilarious in the locker room. He said that I might look like Forrest Gump running out there. And I just realized Forrest Gump, like Mac Jones, was an Alabama alumnus. But if I remember correctly, Forrest Gump got faster over the course of that movie, much faster over the course of that movie while he was playing with Alabama. So anyway, Mac Jones says that he's working on his quickness. There's a couple times where he had some sneaky runs. We'll see if it translates into anything on the field in these preseason games. But anyway, Mac Jones is a funny guy. That is your 49ers report for today. Again, our hearts are with Greg Papa and his family as he battles against cancer. So prayers up for Greg. I know that he watches these updates, and I know that maybe in the comments section, since he does watch these updates, you can comment your support for Greg and he'll be able to read it. I think that anything helps at a time like this. So thoughts, prayers with Greg Papa and his family as we sign off here from the 49ers practice facility.